So this is not exactly the video I planned today, but when big news drops, you drop everything you're doing to cover the big news. So we're going to be talking about the official announcement, the official reveal. IDW is losing the Transformers and G.I. Joe license at the end of the year. So this we've speculated on before. There's been rumors and rumblings. Now we have an official confirmation of it. Last year of IDW in charge of the franchise, and I know there's some people out there going, ding dong, the witch is dead, and waving your tiny little flags. There's much rejoicing. Yeah, keep all your memes to yourself. I'm going to talk real here. And before we get, but I'm going to give real thoughts here. And we're going to go over what is potentially going to be happening with Transformers as a comic book line. If you enjoyed today's video, remember, a like and a subscribe is a real quick click that helps out the channel. And if you are so inclined to help keep the channel alive, a buck or two in Patreon is very, very appreciated. Thank you guys for everything you do to help keep the channel going. Now, let's read a little bit from the actual press release, or at least the report. So, confirmed at the end of 2022, IDW will bid a fond farewell to the publication of G.I. Joe and Transformer comic books and graphic novels. It is noted that it's not a complete break from Hasbro. They're still doing My Little Pony. They're still doing Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so fine by them. The monthly Transformer series will wrap up by midsummer, while the Transformers Beast Wars Series 2 will come to its conclusion this summer, which is really unfortunate. They mentioned two new miniseries events. We don't know what they're going to be. We don't know if they're going to be an epilogue. We don't know if it's going to be like the final climactic battle of the storyline. It's just a mini series at some point. Uh, who knows? But basically, for at least the main series of comics, that basically means they have 6 episodes, 6 issues, in order to wrap up everything that they were planning to do, or to at least come to a point where it seems like the conclusion that it was supposed to come to. Now, obviously, the writers have probably known about this long before we did, so they've probably been preparing for it for at least a few months now. Hopefully, they are in some form of direction where they can wrap up the story in such a short amount of time. Because it is obvious that they were going for something that was ultimately going to be a lot bigger than what it ended up being. Starting at the very beginning of the war and telling it issue by issue. I mean, that's going to be a long time before you get to Earth and the 4 million year jump in time, etc., etc. It's a lot. It's a lot to set up to go ultimately absolutely nowhere. In a weird twist, it's actually going to make it an interesting story when you look at it in a time capsule, because it's just going to be if Megatron's uprising got shut down immediately. If they actually come to the conclusion of, the Decepticons are put down and surrender, and Megatron is captured, etc., etc. This is all gone wrong. It's whatever conclusion they come up with, it's going to be like the quickest we've ever seen a Transformers conflict conclude. To go from Optimus Prime will have been in charge for a few months before the Decepticons were put down. That's a pretty good turnaround time. But that's probably going to be the only thing that makes it interesting. Now, for me personally, there's a lot in IDW I really, really liked, but a lot of that was in IDW 1.0. Now, 1.0 definitely has its sins, A lot of what Simon Furman wrote, especially in regards to female Transformers, the whole RC debacle, no matter how much you retcon that, that's still a mess. But a lot of the stuff they did, I genuinely enjoyed and I thought was just really well put together and really well constructed. I do really I loved More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light. Yeah, I mean, James Roberts put together a great story with great characters that were really fun to watch. I did like watching Autobot Megatron evolve. I watched him, watching him grow and watching him become, go through a storyline that made sense for why he became who he was, realizing that it had gone too far, and then trying to get redemption that he knew was impossible, but still trying anyway. It makes for an interesting story, even if it makes for a Megatron section of the fandom doesn't really go for. But that's fine. It's different. That's what I would love out of Transformer comics after so long. I want different. And that's what it was. He's also the guy that completely assassinated Star Saber's character, which goes back to James Roberts' old fanfic days. He ain't flawless. But overall, I liked what he did. You might as well throw like a big shout out as well to John Barber, who was the editor-in-chief at the time for IDW 1.0, and who it was the one that kept that continuity together, putting all those plot threads and plot holes and tying them all together to make it actually make sense. And the little gaffes in the storyline ended up becoming big plot details because he's the one who looped it all back around to cover for it. That's what a good editor does, and it makes for some really interesting storytelling. The Windblade Until All Are One books. Margaret Scott did such a good job. I didn't think a political intrigue story in Transformers would capture my interest, but here we are. I loved the back and forth between Wingblade and Starscream that didn't involve them taking a actual physical shot at each other at any point. I like the Hasbro mandate of keep changing Starscream's body, playing into why Starscream is the way he is, why he seeks power, why he's ultimately, ultimately down on himself and unconfident in the end. I think it's a fascinating way of weaving the story, And it's like again, Starscream's another character that goes through a change I wouldn't have expected, but the story they told with him, I bought into it. I believed it, and I liked it. We got to see a Starscream who finally got what he always wanted: rulership of Cybertron. And it didn't go the way he thought it would, which big surprise. But yeah, I genuinely enjoyed. There's a rough patches. Dark Cybertron's a rough patch. All Hail Megatron's is on the rough side. The way Unicron finished. On the whole, I really enjoyed IDW 1.0. IDW 2.0, I've expressed my displeasure with the reboot before, and I can do it again because it's topical on this video. I'm not a fan of how slow the story was going. I'm not a fan of telling the prequel story. I'm not a fan of going back and telling See, what happened on Cybertron and how the war started, I always felt was a story that's more intriguing when it comes at the point where you can ask, how did we get here? That's the story you tell when Optimus Prime is standing over the remains of a battlefield, burnt down trees, damaged and collapsed homes from a local neighborhood, smoking craters and fires, just overlooking this and go, how did it come to this? And then you flash back to 4 million years before, when Megatron is not a Decepticon. Decepticons don't exist yet, and he's actually friends with Orion Pax, and you actually wonder, wow, that's what they were like. And then it's interesting to see how they got to that point. But you got to be quick about it. It's not something you can linger on the way that 2.0 did. And I didn't like how many new characters they threw in. They threw in so many. So, when they threw in, IDW 1.0 had this magic ability of taking characters that were just cast by the wayside, never really used for anything, and actually making us care, There's a section of fandoms who bought the new Pipes because of what happened to him in the comic books. There's a lot of people who display their Chrome Dome and their rewinds together, me included. Tailgate turned into a Tailgate and Swerve. It's one note, non-existent characters in the G1 cartoon. They charged Stripticon, got stomped, and never showed up again. They might as well have been dead. And that's pretty. But they used them to such good. I can't say enough good things. I'm just going to keep saying the word good, which doesn't make for an interesting video. I loved how they were able to take this stuff that was untapped and turn it into these magical things. And the new characters they did come up with were really fascinating to me. Like Anode and Lug. I love them. I love them as characters. I love morally compromised Autobots. They are Autobots. They are they are on the good guy's side. They're also thieves. But you know what? They're a greater good type. They're ultimately good people. We're not going to argue that. And seeing what they went through was, for considering their new characters, I thought was a really fascinating story. And one that is unique to how Transformers works. You know, I don't get that from the new characters they've introduced in 2.0. They just seem thrown in there. Some of them just seem thrown in there just for the sake of being different, Like God, I can't even remember his name because he's that forgettable to me. All I know him as is just like you got one Transformer in there that's just they've been pushing him since the first issue. He does not look the part of a Transformer, and I might annotate his name in. It might just be I had to go back and look at it later. He just doesn't. He just looks weird, and I know the point of it is to look weird, but I don't know. It's just off. It's just off-putting. And there's so many new characters getting mixed in all at once, but none of them feel like they've earned it yet. The very first story you told was Bumblebee and his new protege. Showing how Transformers come online and how they integrate into Transformer society as a whole, and then he just gets killed off. And that affects Bumblebee, but not for terribly long before he's thrown into his whole undercover mission. It's, I don't know, it felt like it was trying to get me to feel for characters that they hadn't earned yet. It felt like Rubble's storyline went too fast and everyone else's storyline went too long. I remember there's another one, and again, I can't remember their name. It's just a gigantic transformer where the whole thing was they never transform. And then the issue ends on them just like pulling themselves out of a crater and just like their head peeks up. And like that's supposed to be like a, oh my god, they transformed. They didn't earn it. They didn't earn it. It's not like Rung and you spend the entire series waiting to see what he transforms into and then like, oh, he's a Matrix maker. Weird. It's not like that. Because they spent years building that up. No. This was like a character I didn't even know existed. And they like the issue on like the dun 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 kind of reveal. And it just didn't have any impact. They didn't earn it. And it's jumping so much. There's a few consistent characters in the story, but they're trying to cram in so many nods and so many older characters and Transformers, and they're working in 1.0 characters, and I just I don't see the direction they're going in. It seemed like they were telling the same old story, which is like let's hurry up and get like let's start the war, get to Earth, and then we can get to the real story. It just feels like it's too cramped and it's going too slow at the same time. It's trying to introduce a lot of characters, a lot of brand new characters, but the overall story is going so slow, I can't really get invested in them. And I can't get invested in the story because it's dragging so much. Just everything on most things on IDW 2.0 have not worked for me. Now, I like it in bits. There's bits I like. I do like RC and Greenlight's miniseries. I like the Valentine special. And I like what they're doing with Beast Wars right now. Beast Wars is like the one Transformer comic I'm actually following. And I'm kind of upset that it's going to get cut short because I like the new characters there. I like Nyx. I really like Scald. Like I kind of hope she somehow survives to whatever project comes up next because I'd really really like a toy of her someday. Not that anything from IDW gets toys anymore, but a boy can dream. I got to looking at I got to looking at what Skybox does. Skybox is the company that is rumored to be in talks to acquire the license for Transformers and G.I. Joe. It's by the guy who does Walking Dead, which already, Robert Kirkman, which already gives you the idea of this is much darker. It's a much darker company. And if we look at their catalog, yeah, that's kind of. So, you know, uh, Invincible, uh, yeah, say so. Like Stillwalker, Machine Boy, not so much. Clementine, yeah. There's a lot more dark stuff. There's a lot more adult oriented. Trover, that's Rick and Morty's creators, so that'll give you an idea where that vein is. It doesn't mean they can't. It doesn't mean they can't produce things that are more like in tone with what Transformers is, but it does discourage a little bit. I've also heard a lot of NFT talk around this company. And I don't know how accurate that is. I haven't really looked too much into it because it's NFT related. But I'm not sure it's quite the right fit, you know? There's part of me that really kind of wishes it would go to Boom, who do have a solid legacy right now with Power Rangers. Like they've been doing really good work with that series. Honestly, I don't even think it's an IDW problem if we're being honest. Because I look at what else IDW is doing. I like the Sonic series they're doing. I really like the Sonic comics. I love the Ninja Turtle comics. They've been doing fantastic things with the Ninja Turtles. It's all about having the right team on board, and right now IDW just doesn't have a creative team that can actually bring Transformers to where it should be. And that's upsetting. When you've got so much media for Transformers out right now between the Netflix show, the comic books, or the previous comic books, the upcoming movies, all the different toy lines we've got going at the same time, and they can't find anything to do. They can't find anything better to do than just retell the story of how the war started. At some point, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make a video that is just my pitch for a new Transformer story. This is what I would do with Transformer comics if I was given the pen. That's all it's going to be, right? So that's a future video. I've got a few different future videos regarding this topic. But for now, it's going to be interesting to see how this last year of comics is going to play out. I'm hoping a lot of these stories come to natural conclusions instead of just like abruptly ending. You know, Optimus is in the middle of a speech, and all of a sudden someone runs in. Hey, Megatron's head blew up. You win. Good job. Nothing. As long as it's nothing like that. At least I'm being silly. I just don't mean like that abrupt. The Beast Wars one's the one I'm more concerned with because I was really hoping that they were going to continue. It seemed like that's one that could have gone for a long time and could have had a lot more expansion in its story. That one is going to come to an abrupt end. That one's unfortunate. I really do hope whoever picks it up starts doing a Beast Wars run again because I was really enjoying getting something a little bit different out of Transformer comics for the first time in forever. Again, the G1 obsession. I know it's nostalgia, it sells. I want to see something else. I want to be different. Same as I'm getting in the toy lines. I want different. I want things we haven't done in a long time. Give me a comic book based on Unicron trilogy characters. Give me a book based on Beast Wars. Something. I think it's worth pointing out that this announcement from IDW comes off of the news that their fourth quarter results financially, once again, they're operating at a loss, which is not what you want in a comic book company. I don't know if Hasbro's pulling out everything or if it's just IDW and G.I. Joe were the licenses that are up and they can't pull Pony and Dungeons and Dragons yet. Don't know the financial situations. But it's unfortunate because IDW, I think, has done some really good things. I think they're capable of doing good things. And I think that Transformers didn't need a change of ownership. It needed a change of writers. It just needed the right people in charge. Just the current team, I don't think the current team had a vision. I think they are just happy to just throw in a bunch of random characters, throw in a bunch of fan favorites in cameo roles at best, and just retell the old how the war started story. It just felt like they were kind of putting in the low effort. Hopefully, whoever gets it next, Skybound or who knows, I'm hoping they put together something a little bit more original, as stated very adamantly. What do you think? What do you think the next comic needs to be? Do you think Skybound works? Or do you think we need something a little bit different? Or are you sad to see IDW 2.0 go? Are you one of the ones enjoying the current storyline? Let me know in the comments below. And this is not the last time we'll be talking IDW. We got 1 year left to be relevant talking about IDW Transformer comics. So I'm going to make the most of it. So hopefully you're along for the ride with me. I'll see you in the next video. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.